Fonts might disappear like NDDCs. Okay, this story is on front page, but it's continued on page 9. Now above the masthead, UBA leads $1.5 billion oil sector financing deal. UBA leads $1.5 billion oil sector financing deal. Provides $200 million in NNPC pre-export finance facility. That story is also on front page, continued on page 9. Finally, on this day, federal government raises hate speech fine from 500,000 to 8. And with that, I go to the next one, New Telegraph newspaper. Elite with Buhari to service chiefs, rejig operational strategies. Rejig operational strategies. OK's clamp down on drug peddlers and consumers. NSA says Southern Kaduna crisis a political matter. DSS warns against excessive display of wealth. That's on page 3 and page 5. We see a picture of some of the service chiefs during the security meeting. Bottom strip stories: 32 vesties just so for COVID-19 vaccines and others. NUC assesses modalities for safe campuses reopening. Page 4. And on page 6, childhood trauma can trigger early biological aging. Childhood trauma can trigger early biological aging. See it on page 6. Okay, let's move up above the lead story. UBA provides $200 million for Nigeria's petroleum industry. Page 5. And FIRS to 9 posts will recover stamp duties you collected. As on page 3. Chinese loans, Nigeria's sovereignty not at risk. Amechi and Malami. CBN releases guidelines on healthcare research and grants. CBN releases guidelines on healthcare research and grants. It's on page 25. Okay, and I go above the masthead. COVID-19. Bristol sacks 100 pilots and engineers. 100 pilots, engineers. Story on front page. Continued on page 3. Finally, investors lose 22 billion naira in banks' stocks. Investors lose 22 billion naira in banks' stocks. Page 16. The next one I have with me is Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune. Buhari orders total overhaul of security strategies. Total overhaul of security strategies. Says Nigeria now had drug-producing country. Nigeria now had drug-producing country. Sultan and the Khan call for effective security of citizens. Governors meet today over degenerating security. Finding on page 3 of Nigerian Tribune. Okay, let's keep going down. Fasomi buried as politicians told to work for humility. Federal government increases hate speech fine from 500,000 to 5 million naira. Kwara deputy governor and wife test positive for COVID-19. That's on page 5. And we see the children of the late Fenifere leader Pa Ayo Fashomi during his funeral service at St. John's Anglican Church State. Okay, Chinese loans, $400 million project abandoned after completion. Wow. $400 million project abandoned after completion. And $161 million paid on capital interest. $322.67 million outstanding. Full payment due on 2030. Full payment due 2030. Page 25 for the rest of the details. Okay, let's go up. Above the lead story. Finance Act stops NIPOST from stamp duty collection. Finance Act stops NIPOST from stamp duty collection. That's coming from FIRS. Page 26. 50 killed, over 2,750 injured as massive explosion rocks Lebanon. 50 killed, over 2,750 injured as massive explosion rocks Lebanon. UBA acts as lead arranger for $1.5 billion facility to boost oil production and government revenue. Page 26. Above masthead noun, sovereign immunity clause. Diplomatic immunity not same as commercial immunity. AGF tells National Assembly. Page 4. That is where you can find that story. Another alleged 6.2 billion naira palliative fraud hits NDDC. Distribution Committee Chairman petitions Senate. Page 29. And lastly, on Nigerian Tribune, WAEC releases 2020 West Africa Senior School Certificate Examination timetable. Page 29. That will lead us to the next daily with me, the Daily Times newspaper. Oil, gas sector crisis looms as federal government states relax restrictions. Oil and gas sector crisis looms as federal government states relax more COVID-19 restrictions. That's on page 2. The picture shows official of fire service fumigating the Enugu State Secretariat complex. And coming down, ShopRite confusion, mixed reactions trail ShopRite's alleged exit. Page 3. And then on insecurity, CAN puts pressure on federal government, state over Southern Kaduna killings. CAN puts pressure on federal government, state government over Southern Kaduna killings. Story on page 3 as well. On corruption, in cat and mouse game, Akpabio searches for NDDC's contractors. That's on page 4. Alright, to round this one off, the editorial for the Daily Times is on partial closure of Third Mainland Bridge. That's on page 12. That's all from Daily Times. Okay, from Daily Times I move to People's Daily. Let me start from the top story there, the story at the top. TUC planned strike, ill-advised. TUC planned strike, ill-advised, says presidency. And that's on page 12. We remain committed to ending violence in Kaduna, says El Rufai. We remain committed to ending violence in Kaduna. That's according to Governor El Rufai. Okay, now to the major story on NCDC. We will ensure Nigerians have access to coronavirus vaccines. Page 5. We see the big picture is the picture of an exit class of government senior secondary school, Tudunwada, during the resumption in Abuja on Tuesday. Exit class of government senior secondary school, Tudunwada, during their resumption in Abuja on Tuesday, the 4th of August 2020. Alleged $3 million bribe. You have case to answer. Appeal court tells Farouk Lawan. That's on page 5. Edo Guba. Stop overheating the polity. PDP tells Oshomole. You see it on page 3. And finally, 2 female nurses, 1 other arrested for stealing baby in Katsina. 2 female nurses, 1 other arrested for stealing baby in Katsina State. That's on page 8. And that's where we'll make a pause to go on a quick break. We shall be back shortly. Please stay tuned.
Beaming from the nation's capital, we bring to you the good news through various programming, news update, worship and teachings.
The paralysis of sin makes us to be separated from God.
Contact us for your live streaming solutions and event coverage such as synods, conferences, seminars, revivals and lots more. Engage us in showcasing your brands and services to the world through adverts and sponsorship. We also offer latest broadcast equipment for rent, all at affordable prices. For inquiries, please call 070-3265-6544 or mail us via inquiries at ACNNTV.com. ACNN, reaching the world with the undiluted Word of God.
Welcome back. If you are just joining, this is the newspaper headlines on ACNN TV. I will continue with the Guardian newspaper. All right, join me. The lead story is on. The lead story says Nigerians pay 2 trillion naira for calls, data in 6 months. Nigerians pay 2 trillion naira for calls, data in 6 months. The kicker says COVID-19 pushes up expenditure amid poor services. Each subscriber spends 1,725 naira monthly. And GSM operators see more growth. MTN claims pandemic spike data usage. Okay, some of the details is on front page here, but it's continued on page 2. And we have some graphical representations like the market share by operators of GSM as at June 2020. And we also have monthly earnings of these operators and the number of subscribers from January to June. We have the total earning at 1.97 trillion naira, approximately 2 trillion naira. Okay, let me take this story beside that. Change your tactics now. Buhari orders service chiefs. Page 3. Panel alleges diversion of 6.2 billion naira palliatives for Niger Delta by NDDC. That's on page 4. COVID-19 and All of Us by J.P. Clark. COVID-19 and All of Us by J.P. Clark is a midweek. It's a midweek arts page on page 30. Midweek's arts. Okay. Coming down, more voices against Kaduna killings. More voices against Kaduna killings. Diaspora Nigerians beckon on United Nations. Diaspora Nigerians beckon on United Nations. Sultan orders urge caution on northern-wide crime. Stories on front page, continued on page 2. And that's that for the Guardian newspaper. Hence, I move to Nigerian pilots. Nigerian pilot says Buhari bows. Kika says agrees to overhaul nation's security apparatus. Says Nigerians have lost confidence in the security sector. Assures he's determined to restore confidence. Defense minister working on something. New direction likely, says the NSC. We see a picture of Governor of Bayelsa State, Governor Joye Diri, and Chairman Bayelsa Council of Traditional Rulers, His Royal Majesty King Alfred Dieter during a safe school reopening program at a conference center in Yenagua yesterday. Coming down to bottom strip stories, Nigeria records 5,300 177 megawatts electricity generation, highest ever. That's on page 6. NUC assessing universities ahead of resumption, page 7. For resumption of schools, says Governor Diri. That's on page 8. 1 serving officer, 6 retired soldiers arrested for robbery, page 7. That's where it is. Bristol helicopters sacks 100 pilots and engineers, page 7. Buhari gives NDDC 7 days to pay fees of students stranded abroad. And finally here, on the bottom strip, investment inflow into Nigeria hits $6.17 billion in 4 months. That's on page 30. Above the lead story now, and directly below the Nigerian pilots masthead, federal government raises hate speech fine from 500,000 naira to 5 million naira. Page 10. Kaduna has spent 16 billion naira on security in 5 years. Get that story on page 6 of Nigerian pilots. Okay. And that will lead us to Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper. 9 posts. FIRS feud over stamp duty deepens. 9 posts and FIRS feud over stamp duties deepens. Page 19. WAEC releases 2020 WASI timetable. NBC raises hate speech fine to 5 million naira. Page 5. News tightens around service chiefs. That's the lead story. News tightens around service chiefs as Buhari moves to overhaul security apparatus. Says Nigerians have lost confidence in system. They should just go, says an expert. Citizens want action, not speeches, says the CSOs. That's on page 4. Pictures of final year students in class at the government senior secondary school with the resumption after easing of COVID-19 lockdown in schools. It happened yesterday. While we have some students of government day secondary school in Gwagwalada in the FCT queuing to wash their hands. That's a picture by the top right. Queuing to wash their hands, and also the picture of Federal Government Girls College Buhari, the picture on the bottom right. Buhari Abuja returning to their hostels. Alright, bottom strip stories. How Zamfara women widowed by bandits struggle for survival. I take that again. How Zamfara women widowed by bandits struggle for survival. That's on page 28. Afenifere leader Fasomi laid to rest, page 5. 2023 PDP's focus is winning, not zoning, says Governor Wike, and it's on page 30. And that's the last from Daily Trust newspaper. And I move to the last paper I have with me, Business Day newspaper. Okay, special series, equity versus debt, making a choice for Nigeria. That is the lead story from Business Day newspaper. We don't have much here, so I will take the picture, the story beside the pictures. Why motorists spend longer hours on a coal bridge? Why motorists spend longer hours on a coal bridge as frequent truck accidents break down, slow traffic on alternate routes to Third Mainland Bridge. And coming down, 5 reasons fund manager is your plug-in in a declining yield environment. Get that on page 2. UBA provides $200 million for Nigeria's petroleum industry, page 2. as well. Alright, and that's that from Business Day newspaper. And of course, that's the end of today's edition of newspaper headlines. Let me leave you with this verse from Luke 6:49. But he that heareth and doeth not is like a man without a foundation built on a house upon the earth, against which the stream did beat vehemently, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of the house was great. With that I say to you that whatever you hear matters, and what you do with what you hear also matters a lot. Let's always be on the positive side of life and live in Christ, who is a solid foundation of all Christians. Thank you for watching. I remain Charles Philip Wakulam. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Introducing a new way to watch ACNN 24 hours on your mobile device. Download the VM Africa app for Android from Google Play Store and then install. Open. Click on ACNNTV to be up to date with our news and other programs. Also available on the Apple App Store. ACNN, reaching the world with the undiluted